Couldn't stand in line, so I became a leader. Turned these non-believers into overachievers. They were sleeping on the boy like I'm only a dreamer. I was high off life, mixed with a little reefer. When you don't know the game, I promise they'll try to cheat you.
What's going on, Melanites? My name is GT.
And I am Kymmy Cocoa.
And we are your hosts for Innovative Black Stations, Connecting the Dots.
Yes.
All right. So the first segment we're going to get into today, we are going to put you on game about Equifax.
Yep, we're going to put you on game about Equifax. Equifax is a credit reporting agency. So there are three major credit reporting agencies.
Okay.
Equifax, TransUnion, and what's the other one?
I can't even I don't even know the difference of them.
Okay. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian.
Okay.
So your credit is reported to all of these three different agencies, and your credit score is usually the average of all three.
Okay.
When you apply for credit or do anything that has anything to do with credit, even if you lease your apartment, of course, if you credit your credit cards, your bank account, all that stuff, those people report, and some bill companies do it too. Mm-hmm. Those people report your bill payment history and all that stuff to a credit bureau.
Okay.
And after they do their calculations, they come up with your credit score, and your average credit score is of those three.
Why is it important for us to have all three of those though?
That's the way it is. Those are the three major credit reporting bureaus that they use to comprise your credit score.
Okay.
So Equifax had a data breach, and it affected 143 million people.
Wow.
143 million people. So that's damn near everybody. Any line of credit that you open is basically in jeopardy because they got credit card numbers, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and names in one way or another. Like they said, I think the average, there's about 203,000 credit card numbers specifically that were leaked. But any one of those other things could have been leaked of 143 million people.
That happened back in I want to say 2013. I want to say with Target. Target had a breach with their credit cards.
They had that, and then there was another one not too long after that where people's email addresses were sent.
Damn.
So this apparently began in July, and I'm getting this off of Fox 23 News. The sequence of events began July 29th. The company's security team detected suspicious network traffic association with the software that ran its online dispute portal. So you know how you can go online and dispute anything that's on your credit report? So their dispute portal was compromised. After blocking that suspicious traffic, they took that software offline. Okay. Then it gets a little cloudy about what happened after that. Then they say, after they discovered a flaw in the source, they used the security software that they had. They had to revamp it. They fixed it, whatever. Okay. But then they noticed that didn't work. So in March, they had an available fix for it. Apparently that didn't work. So they're not sure why it happened.
That sounds like an inside job. How the hell do you do that with a credit? If you're going to do that with a credit card, damn, can somebody finally hit Sally Mae?
I don't know if you know this or not, but they put something online where they said you go to this website and you can see whether your information was compromised or not. Okay. You go to the website is down now.
Okay.
So I guess they had too much traffic to handle the situation. But then what they're offering you is a credit monitoring, which is done by, guess who? Them. So it's like, how do you everybody's kind of in limbo. What you can do is freeze your credit, and you could just completely go dark as far as getting any credit out in your name or whatever.
I used to work for a bank, and see that makes me understand why a lot of the clients, when they used to call in, they used to say, I don't trust doing anything on a computer. I would rather call in and speak with somebody.
I mean, but we all go online and we do all this stuff now. We shop online now. Everybody has Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You buy stuff through the apps, and it's just a little too easy now for your information to get compromised. But you wouldn't think that Equifax, whose job it is to specifically deal with your personal information, would have top notch. Like, are we living in a bubble like of uncertainty?
But that's why I say it might be an inside job. I don't think, because something about that just don't sound right at all.
Listen to this. It gets even shadier. So a few of their top executives sold their stock right before this information came out. Not all of it, but they sold a percentage of their stock. And since these allegations came out, some of their top, the CFO, and a few other executives have retired. So, you know, the stock took a hit this week. As a society, though, as a people, I mean, our hands are kind of tied. I mean, you can dispute stuff, but you really are going to have to take care of your credit history and monitor your credit report now more than you ever did before. Because if you notice, what's going to probably happen is if once you get notified, your credit card company is going to say, hey, there's a possibility that your security has been compromised, your credit card number might be floating around out there somewhere, so we're going to send you a new credit card number, which is probably going to happen to basically everyone soon. Because, I mean, that's all you can really do at this point. But everybody check your credit, because I mean 143 million people.
It's a lot of fucking people. Like you said, it's almost everybody. That is
your name, your social security number, your address, your credit card number is just floating around out there. Jesus and Christ. They gave you a website to go to see if your security was compromised. But what I'm hearing now is that in the fine print of that website, you may have opted out of a class action lawsuit, if there were one, to come about from this. When you go to check your social security number, there's something that, you know, clicking it is saying you're opting out. And even if there was a class action lawsuit, I mean, everybody would probably end up getting like $1 because there's just too many people involved. So what is the end? What do? We just have to monitor our credit, bottom line. Find out what steps are being taken. If you want to join in a class action lawsuit and get your $1, hey, I'll do it too. But at the end of the day, just like we were talking about with the government, because Equifax lobbied to get it so that they wouldn't be sued if something like this happened. So It also goes back again to the government and who you vote for and where they stand on situations like this. Because a lot of what people are trying to get done now is like no security, nobody overlooks these institutions, and we can't have that. The EPA, everything like that. So it's going back to look who you vote for, monitor your credit. So we just want to put you up on game on staying on top of the important issues.
So that wraps us up. We just put you on game about Equifax and the breach. And now this episode's Facts and Opinions is a little bit personal for me. We're speaking about Jamele Hill. Most of you should know who Jamele Hill is. If you don't know who she is analyst / columnist. You want to say for ESPN. She's on the popular show His and Hers with my man Michael Smith. Thing I can say about Jamele Hill, she came up around the time when I started my career, and I think that's why I take this so personally. She was a columnist in 2005 to 2006 with the Orlando Sentinel. Oh, okay. That's when I first discovered her, and that's when like she was regularly coming on ESPN before she became full time. And it's not the first time that she's had an incident or they tried to take her down for something that she did. Back in 2008, in the finals, not the finals, I think it was the playoffs, I want to say, or it was the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics and the Pistons was playing, and she made a reference towards the Celtics. She referenced them towards Adolf Hitler, and they tried to suspend her then for that. But they're like, well, why are you trying to suspend Jamele Hill when in that same year, legendary head coach for Notre Dame, Lou Holtz, made an Adolf Hitler reference, and nobody budged, nobody said anything about it. Of course, Lou Holtz is white, if you don't know who Lou Holtz is. Now, my thing is that John Skipper, the chief for ESPN, did bring out a statement which I thought was total BS. Then what they tried to do, they tried to get Michael Smith to continue on with the show. Michael Smith was like, no, I'm not going to continue on with the show without Jamele, of course, anybody that watched that show, anybody know the history between them two. Jamele used to have a crush on Michael Smith. Of course, he's married, but they're very good friends, and she's very good friends with the wife. So he kind of like, if Jamele not gonna be behind it, I'm not gonna be behind it. And they even tried to find replacements, and the replacements was like, we're not gonna do that. So even the staff at ESPN, even like, you know, their coworkers is like, man, Jamele's not wrong for what she said for calling Trump a white supremacist. Now, the problem or the issue that I have with this is that as much as I love this brother, Stephen A. Smith said some crazy shit out of his mouth. It's a lot of columnists that say a lot of crazy shit out their mouth. And me being in the industry, like, radio was like the bottom of the totem pole. You understand what I'm saying? And I remember 19 years old grinding, people telling me, you too young, you not gonna be this, you not gonna do that. Being the first, you know, black man, black person, period, being on a country station, being a black producer for a morning show, like that stuff, like where I'm from, that stuff was like pretty huge. You know what I mean? And I'm 21, 22 years old doing this. So I can only imagine the shit that she had to go through being at the cream of the crop somewhere like ESPN. And I just don't think it's right, because she's not the first person that's got on there and said something like that.
Was Stephen A. Smith on ESPN too?
He is on ESPN now.
He got suspended in 2014 because when Ray Rice choked his wife out in the elevator, he was like, look, ladies, you know, something to the point where it's like, yeah, sometimes women provoke men, and sometimes women, you know, do stuff, not saying that it's their fault, but if you know your husband is like that, then whatever. I don't know. I don't have a direct quote about what that, but that was the gist of it. That's what he said. So then there was another person that worked for ESPN. I think her name is Michelle Beadle. Did she work for ESPN?
I don't think she's still there. So
she went on Twitter and she said, oh, I'm thinking about wearing a miniskirt this weekend. I'd hate to think that if I was doing so, like what Stephen A. Smith said, I'd be provoking something. I was in an abusive relationship once, and I'm aware men and women can both be the abuser. Okay, whatever she said, basically ESPN, what you're saying is your policy is not to speak on political issues on your social media. I think that if I have a social media and it doesn't say Kymmy Cocoa at Innovative Black Station, I say whatever the hell I want on my personal thing, like she did. Nothing happened to her. Stephen A. Smith got suspended. So basically the message that ESPN is sending is like, okay, if you are black, don't do this, but if you're white, you can.
It's bullshit. Jamele Smith works very hard. Like I said, I saw her come up, and I'm dead ass serious. It's enough networks out there. It's enough sports shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's enough. I honestly, and I sat down and I talked to my dad about this. I said, if Jamele Hill, if they let her go, because they're not talking about suspending her, they talking about letting her go.
Yeah, but then they
let her go.
After all that, they said
I'm not watching them no more, and I haven't been watching them. I haven't been, because I'm so like that shit like really bothered me. It really bothered me, like that you would even think like that. I can understand if behind closed doors you had a conversation with her or something like that, like, come on Jamele, this, that, and the third. But anybody that know Jamele, she gon' say stuff that's gonna ruffle some feathers. But at the same time, most of your columnists do, most of the people that you had on ESPN do it. And now it gets to a point where it made me feel like, well, what the fuck was the reason why Skip Bayless left? You know what I mean? Was it just the money, or was it some behind the scenes shit that was going on?
We have
like,
to.
Come on,
we have
now.
to. I mean, ESPN is not the only sports thing. I mean, even on Live Hip Hop Daily, they have These Urban Times. We're not in the 80s and the 90s anymore. We have to start thinking like, you know, there are people that have independent shows now. You don't
Absolutely.
have to always watch ESPN. Like I said, okay, they have These Urban Times. My homeboy has After Further Review. Google it. Look and support each other. We are all we have at the end of the day. I mean, you don't have to support ESPN. You don't have to watch ABC, NBC. You can watch football on the internet.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
There's just certain things that we have to understand as black people, that we're all that we have. And if we don't support each other, then we're going to be subjected to having to go under their narrative of things. And that's not fair. I salute her for what she did, no matter what.
Amen.
If you have to keep telling, you have to keep reminding people that this is what's going on. You've elected someone that subscribes to the theory of white supremacy. So that means that anybody that he's in his cabinet, he's elected, also does. So, I mean, you have to keep saying that to people. You have to keep reminding people. And I salute her for doing that.
I salute Michael Smith, too. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into Cocoa with Kymmy. So, Kymmy, go ahead and tell us what's steaming.
So there's a lot of shows that are coming up. And, I'm all for support the culture. And also you have to support the legends. And that's like my movement.
Right.
Support the legends, because if we don't, then they're not going to be able to work anymore. And we're going to be subjected to some of this foolishness and craziness that we have going on now. So A3C is coming up here in Atlanta. October 7th and 8th. There are going to be a number of just legends that are going to be there. Nas is going to be there. A-Track, Ghostface Killer, Dead Prez, Just Blaze, DJ Drama.
Show.
It's just going to be crazy. DJ Doo-Wop, AZ, Project Pat.
AZ?
Yeah, Master Ace, Cap
God.
G. It's just going to be out of control.
That's going to be a good
That is going to
show.
be like just so ridiculous. So we're going to be there, of course. Also, The God, MC Rakim, has some shows coming up in September.
More money, more murder, more homicide.
Kansas City, Missouri. Oh no, that's not good. That's probably over now. Fresno, California, September 23rd. San Diego, September 24th. LA, September 25th. So look out for that. The Rakim tour that's coming up. Also in the ATL, guess who's coming?
Who
The
else?
Teacher, KRS-One, October 28th.
I did hear about KRS-One.
Yeah,
coming.
Fit 595 North. I have no idea what that is. Never heard of it. Never been there, but I'll be there
I would
that
just love
night.
to hear him speak.
Yeah,
When
he does speak.
he just like,
He speaks. Whenever
like-
he performs, he speaks. So
this is hip hop.
yeah, yes.
I am
he does that.
KRS-One.
Yes, he does that. So I think we all need to go check that out. And we also wanted to talk about something that happened earlier this week. Was it, or last week? Kanika Jenkins.
Okay, so that's what we're going to get into my 2 cents. So let's
Yeah.
go ahead and talk about that.
In my 2 cents, we're going to discuss the whole situation. I've gone over numerous videos. Everyone has turned it to CSI. So, and then at the end of the week, unfortunately, a video came out that I was not happy to see as a parent. I have been a 19-year-old girl, and I have parented a 19-year-old girl.
And just to speak
and nobody
on her a
wants to
little
see
bit.
their kid stumbling around drunk, especially after God.
And just to speak on that a little bit, I'm sure most of you already know who she is. 19-year-old, like she said, child from Chicago, was at the Crown Plaza Hotel celebrating what was supposed to be a friend's birthday. She was found 24 hours after she went missing.
Yeah.
That was and then the video was released on September 15th, which was this past Friday. So go ahead and talk about the video a little bit, Kim.
So the video shows her in a couple different camera angles, a couple different cameras in the lobby of the first floor where the kitchen is. And you first see her stumbling out of the elevator, and then she's stumbling out into the hall, and she's opening doors. And then the last video shows her going into the kitchen, and that's it. So I mean, we really don't know if somebody else came and shut the door, or if she passed out, and I don't know. But later on, her mom found out that unfortunately she had passed away. So her friends called her mom 4 o'clock in the morning and said, we're going to bring you your car back because, we can't find her. And the mother said that she didn't even know that she was there. She borrowed her car to go somewhere else, and that's where she was. You really just, you have to, I mean, kids, that's what kids do. I've been a 19-year-old girl. I had a 19-year-old girl. They're going to do what they want to do.
I think the 2 questions that everybody have is, why didn't the staff do anything about it? Like, why didn't they go down there and like stop her and say, hey, this is a restricted area, you don't need to be down here? And why did an activist see the video before the family? Like, that didn't make sense to me either. And then also too, if you look at the video and you actually look at the girl in the video seemed to be a little bit more built than the actual
I'm not
girl.
going there. That's too CSI for me.
What I'm saying
because
is,
it's
what I'm
a
saying
video
is
and it's grainy.
that's what's going on right now, and that's what everybody's speaking about, because they feel like,
but that's what happens when you get a story from a bunch of drunk
know,
teenagers, and it got misconstrued, and it's all over the place, and her weight and her height, and everybody, that's not her. Okay, so you think that these drunk teenagers pulled off getting her clothes off or getting an outfit just like hers and tried to like pull off this caper? No, I don't think it's that serious. I think something really fucked up happened. Number one, that her friends didn't look out for her and she was drunk. But they was drunk too. I do think
something popped off too. I don't think it was just her being drunk. I think something else popped off. Like, I can't really determine it. I mean, I tried to watch the little live video that one of the girls had. I couldn't because it just wasn't. Because it was too much going on.
It was too much going on, and like a bunch of drunk teenagers and me trying to decipher what they talking about, and it was just too much. But then when we saw her all drunk, either somebody came and closed the door not knowing she was in there, or she passed out in there. Somehow the door shut. We might not ever find that out, but. Man, teenagers, adults, everybody, like, watch out for your friends. But if everybody is drunk, you don't need to just have a designated driver. You need to have a designated person, period, around y'all that's not drunk.
True.
You know what your friends are capable of, how drunk they're capable of getting. You gotta, but you don't really know that as a teenager. You know what I mean? That's just one of the things you learn with life, and that's just one of the unfortunate events that's gonna teach these kids out here. Watch what you're doing and who you're doing it with.
Another thing I want to talk about before we wrap up the show, Florida rapper Extension released a video this past week where in the video he had a black kid, looked like he was about 8 or 9 years old. He had a white kid about 8 or 9 years old. If a lot of you don't know, there was an 8-year-old biracial boy in New Hampshire that a 14-year-old white teenager actually hung.
Yeah, he was hung for a few minutes. He was hanging there for like 8 minutes, they said. So
Extension, what he did was he released a video of a 8-year-old white kid being hung in the video, and his message was, okay, y'all don't pay attention when shit like that happened to a black kid, but as soon as it happens to a white kid, y'all in the uproar, and that's basically what happened after he released the video.
Saw anything, but then
I didn't watch the whole video. Yeah. I just watched when he actually told the kid to put the noose around his neck, and he hung the kid.
No Malice, formerly of the group Clips. Malice and his brother Pusha T, they have a group called Clips. They had, and he has his own solo career. So he has a video out now on his new album, Let the Dead Bury the Dead, and he's got people hanging in his video. So I'm sure nobody's gonna complain about that because he's black. So I mean, I get what he's doing with all these alternative universe shows that we're trying to give. It just shows how powerful symbolism is, right? I mean, that's why people want these statues down. That's why that flag is like pissing everybody off. Imagery is very powerful. And if I've never heard them talk about him in his video, but I'm sure I will, because once it gets built up, you know what happens with the media.
People was mad when Kodak Black came out with his video when he got out of jail, and he had I think he had the KKK hanging in the background, or the Confederate flag or something like that hanging in his Tunnel Vision video. So like, it's like they talk about these kids, they talk about, well, they not really speaking to them, but these kids are watching. Like, sometimes they may say some dumb shit in their lyrics just to sell, but you really, like, this young and upcoming generation of hip hop, you really got rappers, I should say, you really got to pay attention, not just the music, but pay attention to the visuals.
Yeah, we do, and they are not always. I just, it's way out of control now. Like, I see some powerful imagery coming out of Kendrick. I see some powerful imagery coming from like J. Cole. I see some powerful imagery coming from a few, but the majority of them, the imagery is money, hoes, and clothes. I mean, drugs. Money, hoes, and drugs. It's not even the clothes no more, because they don't really try to be flashy or fly. They just want everybody to know they high and they got bitches and they got cars and money. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, but imagery is powerful, and I mean, like I said, as a parent and as our generation, it's like, do we need to reach out more? You know what I mean? Do we need to?
I think this is where we fucked up as a people.
Right.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village,
and I think now people are worried about themselves. It's selfish. I came up at the very end of it where it was like, if your neighbor knew your mom didn't come home till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Like, I used to watch my brothers and sisters since I was like 7 years old. If they knew your mom didn't come home till 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they knew it was 5 of y'all in there, they'll come knock on the door. Or if they seen you out the door at a certain time, they're like, well, you know your mama wouldn't allow that. Or they'll beat your ass. And now it's just like, we live in a generation now with kids raising kids, like I've said before, and it's like, that's not cool. Don't hit my child, or you don't tell my child this. But then as soon as something happened to your child, you're like, well, why y'all didn't say nothing? Like, we got to get back to that. It's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with a neighbor feeding your child. Like, what happened to the days when you can go across the street to Miss Davis' house and Miss Davis fixed you a peanut butter jelly sandwich and she let you sleep on her couch if you left your house key at the school? Like, we got to get back to that, man.
Absolutely.
We got to get back to that.
But morality, we don't see it anymore. You know what I mean? And it's like when you try to speak on any sort of morality, it's like frowned upon. But it's like if that's not in the core of somebody, then it's not going to come out in any aspect of their life. I mean, you really have to have the elders. I'm calling on the elders to kind of like, you know, speak up and be an example. Be an example and show the younger generation what you think is going to help them, because these kids are crying out. I mean, Kanika is just one out of, like, I think, what are we in June? I think the numbers were at 700 kids in Chicago that were murdered. Like, come on.
And it don't make no sense.
It's horrible. I went to look on the Chicago news about Kanika, and when I opened it up, you know how many other kids had gotten killed that weekend? Like,
it ain't enough.
It's the culture.
It ain't enough damn milk cartons to be putting these kids on. Either.
I mean, it's not like they're missing, and it's not like there's this, you know, and that's another thing. You have to hold the police department accountable. I mean, how deeply do you think they looked into it when they figured out it was just a bunch of teenagers?
It goes back to what you're saying. Like, it's important for you to vote for these councilmen in your district. Like, it's very important, and I don't think us as a people understand that.
Yeah, shout out to Do It All Do running for city council in Newark, New Jersey too. Like, he's in the hip hop generation. Like, he knows, he's seen. You have to get people, stop electing people that grew up during segregation and they know what the world was like when you couldn't be around any black people. Why are these people still being elected? Why do we still have 80 and 70 and old white men in Congress and in the Senate?
That's a good question for another show. But make sure y'all check out our sister shows, DJ Samoa's Top 5 Countdown and Inside the Industry with Jay Black. And shout out to Live Hip Hop Daily. Yes, Live Hip Hop Daily got some dope shows going on. Y'all don't have to watch ESPN at all. This is GT. And I'm Kymmy Cocoa. And you have a good night.
Couldn't stand in line, so I became a leader. Turned these non-believers into overachievers. They were sleeping on the boy like I'm only a dreamer. I was high off life, mixed with a little reefer. When you don't know the game, I promise to try to cheat you.